Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. It's been a long day. I've been out trying to get all my farm work done so I can go on a trip. But if you're new here tonight, absolutely appreciate y'all coming in. As always, respect the families, mods, and each other. On the Morning Watch crew, we start off talking a little bit about a very short presentation. And then after that, of course, we'll answer any questions you have, just about any topic you have. And it'll usually, we'll wind up at the Waffle House before this is out, especially if Dave's here. But he owns stock in the Waffle House. I swear he does. But like I said, I want to thank everybody being here today because as I pack and get ready to go on this trip, it's just one of the cold cases that we're covering, which is the Amber Crumb case. But anyway, with that being said, we'll get started on it and give you a little brief update of where we're heading, what's going on, and get in here. But before we do, let's check with who's popped in here showing up tonight. We got Bama. Good to see you. Got Unearthed Secrets. Carolyn. Actually, we've been Unearthed Secrets, and I've been texting each other throughout the day, working on several topics, and hopefully they have a code case they're going to be looking at. And she says Steve and Chris should do breaking news live streams unless they already do. If they do, then good. Chris does. I haven't. I'm so far back in here that and I have a pretty busy schedule. Chris does it pretty much full time. I haven't gotten to that level yet. Oh man. And this is where we go. If you're new to this channel, you'll see what we're talking about here. The Waffle House talk makes a lot of people hungry. And Mrs. Steve is already asleep and she's doing better. I absolutely thank everyone for the thoughts and prayers. We're feeling a lot better than what we did. Esther, yes, I'm glad you showed up. Good to see you. And I have done something over here in chat I hadn't done before. Turning in all different types of pretty colors. Hello, Jennifer. You should rest, Steve. I know, but there's a lot of things to do, and this is generally the way I relax. I'll have a cup of coffee or two the night before I go to bed, and I'll get plenty of rest. I got one more day of farm work, and then I'll be ready to hit the road Tuesday. And Polygraph, good to see you, Jocelyn, Miss Deanne, good to see you, and it's right. Good morning, Elizabeth Waffles. Oh, man, that's a great question, Waffles. Ray Jones, good to see you. And this is true. We went to IHOP and they ordered pancakes and then they carry them to the room and they eat on them for several days. Very strange. Very strange. Oh, man. Bossy, good to see you. Lala, good to see you. Lisa. Absolutely. It says from Canada, we get prayers for Nova Scotia. They're fighting wildfires 3 hours from you. Absolutely. Fires are, we have them pretty bad. California probably is our worst state for the forest fires. Not so bad here in Georgia. We have them, but nothing like what they have out west, and evidently what y'all have up there. Mm. And I don't know what YouTube is doing, but eventually they'll get it figured out, hopefully. Um, and we just have to work on that. I appreciate it. Um, Jennifer, don't worry about it. We'll get it figured out somewhere along the line. All right. Who else is in here? There's Dave. He's already at the Waffle House. He's done run out of chairs to throw. Oh, God. Cynthia, good to see you. Debbie, we are having a wonderful week, and we're going to have a fantastic week. I get on the road Tuesday and probably won't be back home till Friday. Um, and I don't know what we got. Mrs. Steve had something, and evidently she became a super spreader and decided to infect me with it. And but she had it far worse than I. Leftover pancakes with peanut butter and honey. I've never heard of that. Absolutely amazing. All right. Let's see. All right. Well, got pretty much caught up with a little bit of chat and everything. But anyway, of course, the cases that we're looking at and that I'm going to be going to the lab up in Pennsylvania this week on is Amber Crumb. Unearthed Secrets and Chris met us in Texas, and we did a search out there, recovered some materials, processed all the soil, and was able to and finally find a accredited lab to take the bone to that will be consumed. It's a small rib bone, um, and we're going to have it tested, see if it's human or non-human. Hopefully, it'll come back with some good results, which it's a mixed feeling of what is good. Will it bring closure to the family? Yes. If it does turn out to be human, if it doesn't, then of course we continue with the investigation. All right. But I'm going up to Pennsylvania. Like I said, I leave here in Georgia on Tuesday. And we'll talk some more about this as we travel through. Then, of course, in July, I'm heading up to Evansdale, Iowa, reference to the memorial for Elizabeth and Lyric. And which, of course, their case started off from a missing persons to being kidnapped to finding their bodies um, uh, 7 months later or 5 months later in December after their abduction. They were transported to Seven Bridges Refuge, which is a county north of where they were abducted from, and that's where their bodies were found, sadly. And then, of course, Chris just got back from working on another case for us, um, searching for Aiden Clune. And most of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is all the travel that we've done so far this year. And just in, these three cases of what we'll probably do this year, we'll probably be on the road totally between Unearthed Secrets and whatever travels they do, or if they need any assistance, we'll be glad to help them with. And then with Chris and then myself, we'll probably log close to 20,000 miles on the road this year. We already have 12,000. And after this, when I finish up this week, it'd be close to 14,000 miles that we've traveled since we started traveling in goodness, what, a month ago? Wow. So that's a lot of mileage combined by the time you look at our three YouTube channels plus the mileage put on by Larry. And still got a bunch more to do. All right. Oh, this is something. He's actually sitting outside. He's in New England. He's not on the road. Generally, Dave is out riding and listening. She says, "Mommy, not go to the Waffle House when you're there." Jocelyn's talking to Dave. Oh man! But I'm gonna meet. I'm going to the lab up in Pennsylvania on Wednesday morning. They open at 8, and so I'll turn the bone over to them, and then of course we have to wait for like 3 months. That's how backlogged all these labs are. And of course, as soon as we get results, I'll let y'all know. And when I leave from there, I've got to go and pick up some equipment that one of our subs has kindly donated, and I'll pick that up, and then I'll head westbound going to Indiana. I've got a busy week in Indiana. I've got to meet with Larry, and also I got to meet with my private investigator up there in Indiana, and then talk to a family on another cold case. Spend a day or two looking at some crime scenes, and after I finish that, then of course I've got to head up or come back home for a week or so before I head up to Chicago to pick up some autopsy and some crime scene reports, and then go to Evansdale. So we've got a bunch of stuff that's happening on different cases um, pretty quick in the next, 45 days. Oh, me. My goodness, people are still sick. Hunter Secret, we were talking today about some environmental DNA testing that I've been trying to find a lab. Every lab I contacted to do the DNA profiles or DNA testing on the bones, they don't have any type of soil testing. And there's some environmental DNA testing that can be done. And Carolyn has done some research on it, and hopefully she has found us a lab that will do that environmental DNA, which can extract and identify different types of DNA, regardless if it's plants, animals, or otherwise, from both water and soil. Or hopefully that's a possibility. And we're going to try to use it to look at the soil samples that we collected from the crawl space in Texas. And not only on that one, but when we go out and look at these other cases, if we can be successful in approaching it from that angle, that's what we want to do. Absolutely. Oh, man. Let's see here. I don't know what type of I'm getting me a rental vehicle this week, so I don't know which what fuel they'll be giving me, but we'll see. Uh, I would. It may be a hybrid, but it won't be totally electric. I absolutely won't be because um, on most of the cars that we have, some of them have hybrids, but I think the last one I used was well, I know it was totally gas. Um, Melissa says, "Hey, Mr. Steve, have you ever been scared coming across bodies?" Um, the only time that you have any issues, I mean, you, of course, on when I was on patrol, you'd find people that did committed self harm, especially on if you have any water or lakes. People like to go those areas, and of course, uh, complete whatever exit they wish. But those weren't too bad. But the ones that usually get you riled up a little bit is when you're doing welfare checks. And, I've only been in two, I guess would count as really uh, high or mass homicides. One of them was five victims, four victims plus a suspect, and another was three, or yeah, three victims. And whenever you enter those homes, and when you first, you arrive on a residence and there's someone lying in a doorway, you don't know if the offender is still there or not. And so when you have mass casualties, um, more than two, you know, it gets your heart pumping because, like I said, you don't know where the offender is. Is he going to ambush? And you still have to go in and check for life and perform whatever necessary um, to try to preserve life. Um, and so there's a lot of things that goes on in those type of situations, but that's what they pay us to do. And so, um, just you know, uh, whenever you get dispatched to those things, it's part of your training. You rely upon each other, and so far it's worked out real well for me. I made it through 20 years of it. Um, yes, Chris drove from Utah to Texas. Let's see, I got it here somewhere. How far did he go? Um, yes, he took him almost 19 hours to come from Salt Lake to Dallas. Um, so that's how far Chris came, and absolutely. And then he had to go back because that's just one way. The time you look at it, he pretty well put in a week's worth of work, just uh, 38 hours of driving. So there's a lot to do that whenever our team gets together and we go out, just like if whenever I go out to Nevada, and then we go up into Idaho on Dior, it's going to be a lot of travel time, but it's something that has to be done if we want to try to have an impact. See what did D is having something going, some emoji issue. Um, I will anytime. I was going to be in Pennsylvania, and you just let me know what your schedule is, and if there's something I can do, absolutely, I'll be glad to come up there and give you my 2 cents on something. Um, and Not a problem. Oh me, CJK says still awake. Tomorrow is a holiday. Let's see here. Jennifer says who she didn't know who would send her hair bead, and uh, I says as long as you aren't bald, they'll be useful. Oh me, yeah. And that's the thing is that getting a response from anyone right now is and everything's so long. Whenever you get something submitted to a lab, Yes, Beck. You're just trying to help. Absolutely, I need all the help I can get. I don't know what Like I said, YouTube is misbehaving sometimes, and it's sad. Ray Jones has the same uh, 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 use of manual that I have. That anytime it quits working, you slam it. Thank you, Ann. I appreciate it, and it's not anything to do with me. It's with y'all that sub and share, and we most certainly appreciate it. The larger our footprint can be, the bigger impact that we'll have as we move forward with these cases. Like I said, there's no way in the world that I could do what I do without y'all's support, and looking forward to doing as much as we can. LA says got well, that's one of those big words. Biologist who studies bones and decay coming on. Um, um, she recognized bone type in a second. Let us know if that's helpful. Yes, we've had the bone looked at by our bone surgeon and forensic guy that's looked at a lot of bones for our department, and he looked at it and said that the bone that we have meets all the characteristics of a 20 to 25-pound child, and but it also could fit several other characteristic or other animals of that same size that would have ribs uh, that and so there's only one way to determine, and that of course is through the DNA profile. But yes, there's a lot of bones that you can take and like out of the vertebrae and stuff that are easily distinguished. Jennifer, me. Everybody's working on our computer. Jennifer says a step ladder would be okay. Um, Question: in honor of Memorial Day, can you share about a fellow officer that paid ultimate price? If it's not too personal, of course. Um, I was very fortunate in my career that we didn't lose. Now, my father, he lost a partner one night. Him and two other officers responded to a domestic and stepped around the house and came upon a man that was hitting a woman, attacking her, assaulting her. And as they confronted him, he came up shooting, missed my father, and point blank, just absolutely missed him. Second shot struck the other officer in the heart, and he died. He went down, never got back up, and he died. Um, Third officer was shot through the head, and he survived. And then, of course, my father was finally able to subdue him. It was all just point blank, and but those domestic issues are extremely dangerous cause, and this was way back. This was in the back in the 70s, and but there's a lot of officers out there, and of course, you can go on the internet and you look up all these shootouts with law enforcement, and you'll see some of these officers that, as they do their jobs and what they're paid to do, they fall. But there's a lot of the Memorial Day is um, that there's a lot of people that serve this country and lost their lives, um, and absolutely, we have to remember them and honor them. I look at my son-in-law every day, and I'm so grateful that he's survived. And he constantly goes to funerals from his friends that he served with. That even after they've returned, that you know, there's a lot of mental issues with a lot of these soldiers, and we have to support them any way we can. And, you know, Memorial Day is a great day of remembrance of all these people that have served our country and given the ultimate sacrifice. And, but yeah, there's those guys that go out there, you know, law enforcement, we're here, and when law enforcement faces challenges and threats, it's generally just one or two people. Whereas our military, they're facing armies that are trained to do exactly what they're trained to do. And so I hats off to those guys. Absolutely. Hats off to them. Did you ever have to shoot on someone when you were on the sniper SWAT team? We were in a hostage situation, and I just come off the gun, turned around to get a drink of water when my partner engaged. He was, and so as, but no, I never had to pull the trigger um, on any type of a hostage taker. Um, we, I sat there for 20 something minutes with my crosshairs on them and just came off the gun and turned around. Like I said, he took over uh, uh, the target. And just as soon as I turned around, the target engaged another sniper team. And as he was engaging the other sniper team uh, through that gun battle, I was coming back around and watched my partner knock him off of the hostage. Um, and But as far as with the sniper stuff, you know, I was in several shootouts and shootings and things, but um, didn't have to shoot anyone in this situation. Um, Sean says, "What town are you going to in Pennsylvania?" I think it's something called College. Um, what is it called? I've got it. It's one of those college towns. It's in Central County, I think. He says we want to hide all step letters from Jennifer. Oh me. Let's see. I'm trying to keep caught up. Dave is upset because he's not at a Waffle House. Lisa says, I put on my highest heels on a ladder when I can't reach something. I'm not really safety conscious. Ah, so yeah, that's an understatement. True crime with Frank. Good morning. Let's see. Um, Now this is something that you absolutely should never be fearful of. Um, and once again, in the unearthed secrets, whenever you see them come up with some random name and they're addressing it to me on my channel, it's going to be any name in the book. It's a running joke that we have that uh, started when I was working with her sister, um, copying some files, and I couldn't remember her sister's name, and I was just throw out a name, and her sister would answer to it, and so we each call each other whatever name pops up. But it says that I'm concerned that if I go to a cold case and can't provide any useful information, I'll feel like a failure. Give me some life advice about this. Bring in awareness, and that's the thing about the YouTube channels. It doesn't matter about any YouTube channel out there. If they have good intent that they're bringing awareness to these cases and they're trying to get the word out there, just like with the Delphi case. All the channels over the years that when they're out there and they're bringing focus on the case, and especially with Delphi, for the fact that we had an offender that was active. He had already committed these crimes, and they had his photo and his voice, and they were able to bring that information daily. And did it have an impact on that offender going out and possibly finding other victims? Absolutely. But just the mere fact that anyone will take time out of their day to come on YouTube and sit here and discuss these cold cases and remember these victims um, is great, because these victims deserve justice. And when you go to these families and you show interest that you want to help these families, you've already won. Um, because they, you know, they have to fight day in and day out just to get someone to listen. Law enforcement has worked the case sometimes, such with Larry Crum, 40 years. And the officers that have the case now, they don't know anything. They just, you know, whenever Larry would contact them, you know, it may or may not be speaking with anyone that was even alive. Some of the investigators that when she went missing, they're born after 1983, and so, and with that thought process, and you look at it, you were there with us when we talked to those investigators, and some of those investigators were younger than 40. And so they weren't even alive when that case took. So whenever you go out there and you work these cold cases and you're bringing attention to it, and you'll see it in the family's eyes, just like Larry, when he first contacted me, he said it was unbelievable because I was the first person from law enforcement in 40 years even uh, showed the interest. And don't ever worry about that you will won't be able to provide any useful information. You're bringing attention to the case, and it only takes getting that attention brought to the case to the right person at the right time that will possibly lead to that one tip. As we like to hear Doug Carter say, we just need one tip. And that's true on any case. I never worked a case in my life that um, couldn't be solved with one tip. Um, Melissa, thought Steve is a CSI. I was. I did 20 years. And during those 20 years, I cross trained in just about every aspect of law enforcement for my department. I made myself too valuable to fire um, because I didn't want to go from one department to another department like a lot of officers do. But I went through the jail, went on the road, went into CID, which is Criminal Investigation Division. And then when CSI training first became available in the state of Georgia, and I was in that initial graduating class, um, uh, as far as being state certified, I took those courses for a couple of years and got my certification. But also during this time period that in law enforcement, working for the department I was in, um, you know, uh, we did SWAT, worked road, worked criminal investigations. Um, and when I've got, I don't know, hundreds of different types of courses I've attended, thousands of hours of training. And so we did a little bit of everything. And yes, uh, what they had up there in Nova Scotia that during that rampage, absolutely amazing. I never heard that story until, and it happened during the pandemic. And I guess that's one of the things that kind of hid it from the world's view. Yes, and this was back before there was SWAT, back in the University of Texas during the '60s when the guy was up there in the tower shooting at people at great distances, and he was up at the highest point, and without that officer stepping up, it would have been far worse. Let's see. Oh, it was honors. My service was just here in law enforcement, and but um, I think I had a pretty good career. I'm sure there's a lot of people had better careers than I. um, how did Mrs. Steve fight the fears associated with being married to a cop? Mrs. Steve is pretty fearless. I had to fight more fear of being married to her. Uh, because she's tough, and absolutely is fearless, and, she doesn't put up with a lot, and, but, uh, I mean, I'm sure there was times I came in that, injured and otherwise, you know, um, because, sometimes, when you get into some of that close quarter stuff and, it's hands-on, things get broken and, blood is shed, and I've been there, done that. Yeah, that's it. Um, State college is where I'm going, absolutely. I couldn't remember. I've been, looking at so many different, trying to figure out, exactly what route I was gonna go and, looking at all these other towns because I've gotta meet several other people, and, I get once I put it in my phone. I can't get anywhere without MapQuest now. Used to, I could look at a place and just dive north, south, east, west, and remember the directions. But all this technology um, is absolutely amazing. Oh, you're 35 minutes from there. Send me another email, Sean. I'll send you my phone number, and well, you've got my phone number, I think. We'll get together and have a cup of coffee. I'm Marty now. I forgive you. Uh, in 3 hours. Yeah, I've got several people. Oh, this is great news, Dave. I always hate driving through Penn. It's such a long state and constantly doing the highway and construction. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'll be me. I'll be in the highway. I will be arriving late in Pennsylvania on Tuesday. I'll be up there um, somewhere around all morning on Wednesday, but I'll be leaving, heading west, going to Indiana somewhere around probably before lunch. So anytime Wednesday morning, but that depends on where I have to go pick up that other equipment also. But just give me a call. We'll work out something. I always get gas before traveling through Amish country. Um, Yeah, I drive 6 hours. Whatever my gas tank goes, I don't stop to get gas until it, starts pinging, telling me that, we're gonna just about have to call you a wrecker. Now, Mrs. Steve won't ride with me like that. Whenever, she's traveling with me, if it gets below a half a tank, she's looking for a gas station. Yeah, I don't know where Pigeon Mac is. Let's see here. Oh, we got a blue light for something. Okay. Thank you, whoever, whatever, eh, I'm missed it here, but absolutely appreciate anyone's support. Thank you. Um, has a good Samaritan ever helped you out on the job? Sure. Um, not just me, but other officers as well. I've been in, foot pursuits, um, and where people have, uh, you know, tripped them, block them in with cars. Um, Now, I've never been in any type of fight or anything when anyone ever stepped in, but chasing people I have, but not in any type of altercations. So, Brenda, thank you for what you did. I appreciate it. Yeah, I used to. I didn't have to do anything, but now I have to use my technologies to get anywhere I want. No fuzz busters allowed in Virginia. I don't speed anyway. I have no need. Now I said that, I'll probably get in some little um, area. Sure. Yeah. Just send me an email and I'll send it to you. Yes, you should fill up sooner. Yeah, it's going to bite me one of these days, and Mrs. Steve is going to ridicule me. Don't 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 pay any attention to that number. First off, oh my goodness, y'all have him calling somebody. Oh, oh my goodness. Um, Steve, out of all your law enforcement roles, including CSI, what was your favorite? What was the most difficult? Um, you know, the CSI probably is for the fact that you're, as far as trying to solve homicides or any type of crime, um, and because you're having to gather and you're assembling um, all the clues and putting the puzzle together and hunting that predator. Um, and so that's probably uh, the hardest thought processes of the critical thinking aspect of it. But the most dangerous, of course, is warrant service. And now, when we got called out on SWAT, of course, but you're pretty well armored up. You've got all your gear on and things, and so it's not really that bad a thing. Plus, everybody is absolutely, you're trained and you're working with a team. Cadillac, $50 super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate your support. I'll be using that this week. Thank you. Means a lot to us. Yeah, make sure I get my blue light on for Cadillac. Thank you. Like I said, I couldn't do what we do without all y'all's support. Now, I don't have a 1936, but I do have a 1967 patrol car. I've got to get pictures of that for you guys and let y'all see it. Um, it says, "You're a packing." I always go prepared, but I am, um, especially whenever we go up. And that's the thing about traveling to these locations that I worry about, and especially working cold cases. A little bit different from the aspects of sitting at home and doing YouTube versus being on the road, because when you're out there on the road actively looking at some of these cold cases, some of these offenders may still be active, um, and they may not look kindly upon your um, interest in trying to get them justice found for their victims. But it's not a real big deal. I don't worry about myself. I worry about anyone I work with, and I always bring it up to Chris, and of course I brought it up to Carolyn and her sister, and of course we don't worry about Larry. Larry, he uh, is very focused, and and well, I say we don't worry about him. We do worry about him, but he is on a mission for justice. Well, I'm gonna try those Waffle Houses out in Virginia and just see how awesome. I'll give you a full um, review of the Virginia Waffle House. About the Tennessee school and the church, law enforcement was great in their takedown of the perp. They haven't released the manifesto. Have you dealt with individuals like her? Uh, we the highest mass one I ever went to, like I said, was 4 victims plus a shooter, um, and but it wasn't in uh, school. It was a family annihilator situation, and many years ago, prior to them even knowing what that was, um, and but all those situations, whenever you have these people that whatever their break with reality is, they're extremely dangerous and they're on a mission. And uh, sometimes law enforcement is successful in stopping them in their mission, and sometimes they fail. And I do not like it when they fail. Uh, and but law enforcement and SWAT has evolved over the years um, from 1966, before SWAT ever was, to now with Columbine, which when a lot of training went into what to do because Columbine taught law enforcement a valuable lesson. And sometimes law enforcement forgets those lessons, like they did in Uvalde, Texas. Absolutely failure. They didn't learn and they failed to act. And um, we'll always hold those officers in contempt. Um, Um, just don't cross. Ann Vroom says Sheriff Buford T. Justice. Actually, he was based on a sheriff out of Florida, I believe. Yeah, there's a lot of mountains up through there. Um, yeah, I will be up in. I don't know what time I'll be getting into Pennsylvania. It will be dark by the time I get up there because I'm leaving Georgia late. So I will be in Virginia and everything after dark. Thanks for the warning about the deer. Steve worked for the AK and ARs all over the place. No, they were uh, down here in Georgia. There's a lot of them, and they've been around a long time. And we used them. We trained with them. Probably not as much as what they are now. I mean, they're, um, you know, back then there was probably only 2 or 3 manufacturers of them. Back in the 80s, Colt was probably the number one. Um, and now you've got so many other manufacturers of them. Too many to list, probably. Yes. Yeah. Columbine was when we went, because that's what they taught us before is contain. And then when you contain, then of course, all you do is not only contain the shooter, but you contain the victims, and didn't work out in Columbine and it didn't work out in Uvalde. And from now on, I hope that that will be corrected. Yes. Yeah. Anytime, you know, um, uh, and I was very lucky. You know, of course, sometimes you go to a house, and while you're there, of course, shots are being fired, and as you arrive, you hear them, and your heart's popping, pumping, and you're trying to get to where you can take care of a situation, and you see officers um, that sometimes they take care of business before you get there. Sometimes they wait on you, and but um, it does ride, uh, you look back and you think about the cases, whereas um, you weren't able to solve. You had evidence, but you weren't able to effect that arrest. It wasn't enough evidence. And do I have cases like that? Absolutely. Did I solve everything? No. I wish I could have, but I didn't. Um, do you ever come across any negativity from other detectives or investigators when working a cold case? In Texas, um, since I'm pretty new at this, working it from this angle, um, Texas was the first time that I had direct involvement with the law enforcement, um, because as law enforcement has to be very, very careful, and you have to be very, very careful when you work with law enforcement, because law enforcement, just like they can't use PIs to flank or circumvent the Constitution, we have to distance ourselves from them. But in Texas, was not an issue at all. They were very nice to me, very respectful, and uh, and so for the fact that if law enforcement uses you or asks you to do something that they would need a search warrant to do, and they ask you to do it, and you become an agent of law enforcement, all that evidence is useless, and so you have to be very, very careful. But no, I haven't come across any negativity yet. Doesn't mean I won't, but I haven't so far. I agree. Those guys that stood outside there with their guns and their body armor, and while those children didn't have guns and body armor, absolutely unbelievable. And we'd probably have some. I'd probably have some very harsh words for them if anyone ever told me that. Yes, I was outside that classroom. Me and them probably butt heads. And that's the point. Uh, there was plenty of parents that would willingly went in there and took care of the situation, and they had faith that law enforcement would do that, and law enforcement failed. Ray Jones, it's pronounced bull peanuts. Uh, yeah, Hilton Head, absolutely, beautiful part of the country. Let's see here. What else going on here? Okay. Um, how often did you work with FBI? How are they to work with? Well, I've been on both sides of the table with FBI. Um, during my career, I was interviewed by them on the side that anytime you have encounters during arrest and people file complaints, civil right complaints. Of course, you're on the opposite side of the FBI. They'll come in and do a civil rights investigation. So I've been there. And then, of course, I worked with them on the other side of the table on armed robberies and at banks and things of that nature, and certain types of other crimes that would require participation of FBI. And even in that hostage situation where my partner shot the target off of the hostage, um, there was a FBI sniper team in the woods with us that day. I worked with them. I don't know, probably maybe 6 or 8, 10 cases in 20 years. And I was interviewed by them on the other side of the table three three times and was almost 4 times, but the sheriff took care of one of them and I didn't have to be interviewed. Oh, Mrs. Steve would be so jealous that you're on Hilton Head. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be tired in a day or two. And I've run over my share of deer at night, and actually even hit a cow during a vehicle chase one time. and so that's just part of it. If you drive enough miles in these patrol cars at night or daytime, you're going to run over deer. Do you farm your acreage? If so, what do you grow, harvest? It's an old cow farm. We used to raise cattle when I was a kid, um, but we've taken down the fences. And Mrs. Steve just likes her fields to be mowed and look nice. And it's I enjoy sitting out there drinking coffee and looking at my uh, large front yard and backyard. Oh, Jennifer's going. Good night. Night. And Cadillac has also become a YouTube member. Thank you. I appreciate that. Means a lot to us. Uh, that that cow didn't move. Absolutely, it ran between me and a vehicle. I was doing probably about 105 when I hit it, and it put me up on 2 wheels for about 100 yards. I thought I was going to flip, um, and I didn't know what I hit at the time. All I knew it was large, dark mass, and when I hit it, and I had to turn around and go back because, like I said, I didn't know if I'd what I'd hit, but it was pretty impressive. Okay, I like the we had members today, and we have members a couple of times a week. And Issy says, on an old horse training ranch, nothing is left but the arena. Horses and I, for whatever reason, me and horses just never got along. Mrs. Steve loves them. Marty, so are you a LiDAR expert now? No, I am not a LiDAR expert and never will be. Um, but I will buy the equipment and learn how to use it. And I will, whatever we have, I will ask and for people that are far better qualified to assist me in the readings, such as Unearthed Secrets. And so I hope that you are an expert on LiDAR. If not, we'll make you one. Let's see what happened here. All righty. A 9 point. Oh goodness, Buck about turned my car over, hit me on the side in a very small car. I saw a city officer one time that was riding and inside the city limits, and a deer came through the side window on them. That was had a nice rack. I don't know if how many points it had, but it was a pretty nice deer. And once again, you see, it's good to know professionals. Uh, they will share their education and their knowledge base with you, and and I appreciate that. Oh, okay, we got Donna Walters became a YouTube member. Absolutely, thank you, appreciate it. Those deer whistles are cheap and mount on the bumper. They work. I I hit one time that got wrapped in the. I was in my investigator's car at that time, and the deer came in and ran into the front tire, and got lodged in there. The whole body got lodged inside the fender wheel, and you couldn't turn the steering wheel. Um, so that was quite the ride until the vehicle came to a halt. Yeah, I've deer whistles are what they. I don't know if it's the same deer whistles that they used to have. That's out there. They've been around a while. Miss Jeanne says, "Good night, y'all. This old lady can't hang. Be safe, Mr. Steve." Thank you. Appreciate it. Um, do I sense a how-to video in the future? Your videos are fun to watch. I love your sense of humor. She does have a great sense of humor. I have to keep buying the deer whistles because they keep getting broken every time we hit a deer. Oh man, uh, we could read that many different ways. Um, it it sounds like they almost that you're using them and you're calling them to come out and get in front of your car. Uh, I know that's not the intent of the deer whistle, but that's almost what it sounds like that is happening. Oh man, oh man, oh. Never heard of such. $150 fine if deer has died in the plantation on Hilton Head. Dead carcass removal charge. Ha! Interesting. All righty, guys. But Mrs. Steve and I are going to set up some thumbnails for the next week. I'm on all my shows probably will be late shows this week. I'll be driving during the daytime and the early evening hours, and I'll probably only pop on late at night um, this week. So you'll get some updates as I travel across the country, but they're all, like I said, they'll be late at night. And but appreciate everyone being here. Appreciate all the support we had. It's absolutely amazing for the people that have supported my channel. Uh, uh, Cadillac, we appreciate the monies and everyone else that gave money. I'll be using it this week, and also y'all stay safe out there. If you have any questions or any suggestions about anything, send me an email, steve@truecrimeweb.com. And let's see, is there anything else? For those that don't forget to send me emails, and I'll get you my phone number. And y'all stay safe, and we'll see y'all soon.